welcome to week 20 of Draw and Paint for Life. I'm Maureen Claffey. We're looking at fish this week, drawing fish, tracing fish, looking at fish. The color, lemon yellow, and the work of Pierre-August Renoir, a French impressionist, and he painted a lot of people. He's a beautiful painter. This is the paint box. Here's lemon yellow. It's right next to white. We've done all these colors and we're here. So we're like into the back end of this, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So we're doing animals for the rest of the year, and let's draw some fish. I just want to tell you too about the videos. So there's some images of Renoir's paintings, and then there's images of him at home painting, and you're going to see that he was really crippled at the end of his life. It looks like he had really bad rheumatoid arthritis, and these images are from the beginning of visual filming. Like, I know we think like this was always around, like guys always had like YouTube videos and phones always took video and images, but that's not true. So this was like, I think it was filmed in like 1910, which is 123 years ago. I hope I did my math right. And in fact, I did my math wrong. But it's cool to see him in his element at home. And he's smoking cigarettes. Don't smoke. He's smoking with oil paint, which is combustible. I'm like, what in the world? Like, oil paint can blow up, so don't do that. But it's beautiful to see the artist in his element when he was alive, and at the advent of filming, and to see like his dedication to his art. He was old and in a wheelchair, and his sweet little hands were like barely able to hold brushes, and he was still making art. So I wanted you to see that. All right, here we go. Have a great day. So here we go. Color lemon yellow. Here's what happens when we mix it with black, with white, with blue. Isn't that interesting? That really cool green that happens. This is with like a deeper cadmium yellow, which we'll be looking at in the weeks to come. And then this is with red. Kind of goes rusty on us. So really interesting. So lemon yellow. And then here's a little fish that I drew. And I'm just going to wipe this off. Just kind of to emphasize to you too that like our creations are ephemeral. You know, they don't have to be perfect. Try not to get stuck in this thing of like, I have to make the line this exact same way, because that's pretty much a recipe for like frustration and tears. All right, so let's start with a big deep breath. And when drawing a fish, I kind of like to start with the tail, and you can make your tail any way you like. I just kind of like to make mine like this. Okay, like a big fun tail. And then most fish have just kind of like a big bump, like a big line that goes forward. Okay, I'm going to trace over that just so you see. Big deep breath. And there we go. There goes the line. And then I put like a little bit of like just almost like a beak on it, just to see what, you know, what can happen with it. And then this mirrors it. And I make the bottom just a little bit plumper. There are things that are common to fish. Of course, there's the eye, and there's some type of mouth here. There's also usually a gill. This is where they breathe. They have a fin, which is like their motor as they're going through the water. I like to put a line here because there's usually like a change in the shape and the structure that makes the body of the fish different than the tail. And then fish are all different in this way, but like they usually have a fin on top. Okay, and these are like their rudders, which keeps them, you know, straight up and able to swim through the water. Okay, so bottom and a top fin. And that's one way to draw a fish. And there are so many different ways to draw a fish, but that's just one. It's essentially, again, this is just my way of doing it. Starting with the tail, and I'm going to go more simple this time. Starting with the tail that you like, okay? Bringing it together, making a big swooping line for the top. Coming to the front, the mouth, and then a big swooping line back. It's almost like, you know, like an oval shape or an almond. All right. And what's cool about these dry erase boards is if you don't like something, you just adjust it. Drawing is a continual series of adjustments. Okay. It's so important that we're gentle with ourselves because we want to be artists for life. We don't want to get frustrated and go like, oh, I'm not good at this, because you're great at this and getting better all the time. Okay. So top fin, bottom fin, flipper fin, and there you go.
Piet Mondrian's work can sometimes be hard to appreciate. These shuffling colorful squares and these intersecting black lines make his paintings all blend together, as if each of them were unique, yet identical at the same time. But this particular style was only one step in Mondrian's quite linear artistic progression. He was born in 1872 in Amersfoort, Netherlands, and will start painting, just like many other Dutch artists, landscapes. Already then, he adopts unconventional techniques. For example, most Dutch landscapes displayed the famous Netherlands sky and its puffy clouds, but Mondrian, in At Work on the Land, made in 1898, puts the horizon line extremely high, not leaving much space for any clouds. He then explored many different movements such as Impressionism, as seen in Willow Grove, Impression of Light and Shadows, made in 1905. He also explores Post-Impressionism as seen in Evening, Red Tree, completed in 1910, in which we can clearly see the influence coming from Van Gogh. Mondrian also had a Fauvist phase, which will preface the importance of primary colors in his later work. But in 1911, an art movement will heavily influence him. He discovers through Picasso and Braque Cubism and will move to Paris to further his career. In 1911, he paints a first version of still life with ginger pot, and then, the following year, reinterprets the painting in a Cubist style. The intersecting black lines first make their appearance. Mondrian will slowly start to move away from representation, which we can see by comparing his older tree paintings with the Great Tree, painted in 1911. Only 1 year later, he will, again, make one step closer to abstraction with another representation of a tree, flowering apple tree. He will continue to make abstract paintings in Paris until 1914 when, during a visit in the Netherlands, World War I begins, not allowing Mondrian to go back in France. This will make Mondrian meet other Dutch artists such as Bart van der Lek and Theo van Doesburg. Together, they will create the De Stijl movement, in which Mondrian defines neoplasticism. He will write, "As a pure representation of the human mind, art will express itself in an aesthetically purified, that is to say, abstract form. The new plastic idea cannot therefore take the form of a natural or concrete representation. The new plastic idea will ignore the particulars of appearance, that is to say, natural form and color. On the contrary, it should find its expression in the abstraction of form and color, that is to say, in the straight line and the clearly defined primary colors." This will be the birth of the Mondrian we know of today, with the colors and the geometry. But it's only in the 1920s that Mondrian will start painting the iconic compositions. Those will also evolve with time. The first compositions usually had more colors and shapes, and sometimes the black lines wouldn't even reach the edge of the canvas. With time, though, Mondrian purified his work, stripping away more and more elements. His compositions started to include less colors, but sometimes more lines, making his work seem more minimalistic or simplified. Finally, in 1938, with the rise of fascism in Europe, Mondrian moves to London and, in 1940, decides to move to New York City. This will be the last step in Mondrian's artistic evolution. Even though he's 68 when he moves to New York, he's captivated by the energy this city has. The busy streets, the booming culture, and especially jazz music will animate him. The black lines in his compositions will be replaced by colorful lines overlapping each other. The last painting Mondrian completes is called Broadway Boogie Woogie, a representation of the grid-like streets of New York. The lines are vivid, and unlike any other Mondrian paintings, they are continuously interrupted by color. The lines are not continuous anymore. They are extremely busy, almost as if they had a certain rhythm to them. Mondrian wanted to create universal art that, through its harmony and simplicity, could appeal to any individual, no matter their background. By simplifying what he painted, Mondrian broke down his subjects to their core essence, lines, shapes, and colors, and arranged them in order to create balance. You may admire Mondrian's work, or maybe you don't see what's so interesting about his horizontal and vertical lines, but what's less debatable is how fascinating Mondrian's quest for purification is. You might not like his individual artworks, but Mondrian's work as a whole is interesting to analyze as it's the work of a lifetime. From the post-impressionist tree to the Cubist branches, all the way to the streets of New York, Mondrian's artistic progress is, in itself, a work of art.
Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful week.